Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. There are 7 of these movies now. Just let that sink in. Just let that sink in for a second. Okay, you're good. But before I get into this movie any further, I do want to discuss the plot with you just so everyone knows what it's about. As I said once before, this is the 7th film in the Mission Impossible franchise, and once again we follow Ethan Hunt and his crew as they try and stop opposing forces from obtaining a brand new AI superweapon that in the wrong hands could mean the end of national security and the world for that matter. Even if you're not a fan of Mission Impossible movies, I think there's really something to learn about these movies, in that a franchise can still have multiple sequels and still manage to make a banger every time. Like, I don't know how this is possible. Honestly, I'm just gonna get straight to this sort of thing, but this movie's great. I just want to say that right now. I think that this movie was really fun, and it's honestly really impressive that so many of these movies are like 9s to 8 out of 10s. Like, I'd say Ghost Protocol and everything beyond that point is fantastic, is great, and it's included in this movie. It's great, and I love how Tom Cruise, every time one of these movies gets made, how he pushes the boundary of what he can do on set. I really respect that, and even if I don't entirely agree with some of his personal choices, I love that about him, that he will go out of his way because he believes in the cinema experience. I love that. And I really love that about this movie as well, because 90% of all the stunts are real. So you're watching this movie and you're going, well, that has to be fake. And you're like, no, that's real. Tom Cruise is that crazy that he went and did that. Think about what his family thinks. Like, honestly, do you think his family just sits at home and then Tom will give him a call like, hey mom, guess what I'm doing today? And she's like, what are you doing, Tom? And he's like, well, today mom, I'm jumping off a cliff on a motorcycle and landing on a moving train. Tom, don't do it, please. We have a family that loves you. Like, honestly, this man is crazy. And he's pushing his, like, 50s. It's crazy to me, honestly. It's super crazy to me, but hey, good for him, honestly, because it's hell entertaining to watch. But before anything, let's just get into the review. I want this kind of be a shorter review, because I just want to say this right now about this movie. Everything you would kind of expect about a Mission Impossible movie, since we're on like 7 of them, you know, we've had 7 of them. Everyone can pretty much tell, you know, you can tell what a Mission Impossible movie is going to be. You know, you got good espionage, you got good action. We're going to talk about the action a little bit later, but espionage, characters, all that stuff is great. Tom Cruise kills it in the role, Simon Pegg is great, and there are especially some standouts. Hayley Atwell in this movie is fantastic. I was a little unsure with her character at the beginning because her character is very much played to be the rookie who's kind of incompetent, just a little bit. She knows what she's doing, but she's definitely less experienced opposed to everyone else, and it very much felt like this character could have been very annoying because she's constantly messing up. But I'm glad to say in this movie it's not annoying. She's a great character, and I really loved her character and her presence throughout the entire movie, and especially her relationship with Tom Cruise. Another great character in this movie is Pom Clafett's character. I actually thought she was really cool. She doesn't really say a lot, she doesn't really have a whole lot of character development, but it really feels like this character was literally just like taken straight from the John Wick franchise and put into Mission Impossible. She is a badass, and it is awesome. I love the design of giving her makeup and face paint, making her a little bit more out there, making her more of a unique villain. I thought it was great, and I really enjoyed her presence and her fight scenes as well. Her fight scenes were awesome. And of course, this is where we have to get to the most obvious thing. The stunts in this movie, they're crazy. There's a reason Tom Cruise was like hyping them up as much as he was before this movie's release. There's a reason for that, because they are amazing. Closer to the end of the film, there's a great stunt where I described it before, where basically Ethan Hunt, or Tom Cruise, jumps off a cliff on a motorcycle, lets go of the motorcycle, ignites a parachute in midair, and in the movie, he has to land on top of a moving train. Just wow. Honestly, it's such a great sequence. And there are so many great sequences like that, especially just the train scene in general. That doesn't end with the excitement in that scene. He gets up on top of the train and they're having a fight scene on there. It's just little things, but it looks so real because, for the most part, it is real. For the most part, it is real. There are very little scenes in this movie where they actually go for CGI. Sometimes, of course, they have to, but for the most part, they don't use CGI, and that's awesome to me. It just shows that they really cared, and they put all their effort into these sequences, and they very much carry the movie. It was so good, those sequences. Another really obvious thing, I think this movie looks beautiful. I really love the cinematography this time around, and in every Mission Impossible movie, it does it really well. If that's from him being in this deserted desert type area, or being in the middle of the city with a whole bunch of neon lights flashing, or just these really beautiful mountainscape shots that they go for in this movie. Everything looks pristine and it looks great. And I also really like the soundtrack of this movie. The Mission Impossible soundtrack and theme is iconic. You know, the dan 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 dan. It's so good. It's fantastic. And they do remix it in certain sequences in this movie to better fit the action. And those scenes, it's really awesome. But I also love how they don't overuse it. There are key sequences in the movie when there's something really insane happening and Tom Cruise is doing one of his really crazy stunts and they don't play any music. And I really think that was a way for the filmmakers to go, you shouldn't be focusing on the music, you should be focusing on what's happening right now. And all these insane things that Tom Cruise is doing, you should be focusing on that and taking it all in. And it was really refreshing in a weird way. It was really nice. It's a little thing, but I really liked it. And also, this is the most interesting point of the movie that it could be considered spoilers, so if you're not interested in spoilers, maybe skip to here. I'll put a timestamp in the video. I don't think it's really that bad, but I really wanted to talk about the plot for a minute in more detail of this AI-centered. In most movies, they have a very cliche, where it's very much just, oh, AI bad, it's gonna take over the world sort of thing. But they do it a lot different in this movie, where there is this AI that could potentially mean, like, the end of the world. Like, in the wrong hands, there could be many wars that are started over this. Everything could just be completely fucked. Because this AI is so damn powerful and so damn sophisticated that not even, like, the most intelligent hackers could shut this thing down. There's one way to shut this thing down throughout the entire movie. And it very much felt like when you hear AI plot, you go, uh-oh, it's gonna be cliche, it's gonna be stupid. But I actually thought that this movie did a really good job of making it actually seem grounded in a way. It's not overly, it's not stupid, it's not too much, because very much a plot like this could feel like too much. Like, it could feel too much like it's going into that fantasy element or that fiction and just pure, just garbage food movie nonsense, you know? But I'm glad to say in this movie they actually don't go that far. It doesn't feel cliche, it doesn't feel, I guess you could say, far-fetched in a weird way. It feels natural in the story that they're trying to tell, and the Mission Impossible universe as a whole. It does a really good job with it, and I actually really liked it. I'm really excited to see where this plot goes into part 2. Now for the cons, I have one really big con, and I actually only have one big con, and it's that I think the pacing for this movie is kind of all over the place. The movie starts out very slow, and it goes into the middle where it is extremely slow. There are a couple really good action sequences, but I really felt like those action sequences weren't paced out enough throughout the entire movie to keep you engaged through the entire thing. Because there is a lot of explaining and dialogue in this movie, and that's not overly a bad thing, but it really does feel throughout the movie they're kind of almost reiterating stuff that we already know. Like, they're constantly talking about this AI and we need this key, we need this key, we need to steal this key from that person so we get the AI and we can end this thing, we need the key. And they kind of just repeat themselves over and over and over. And it gets to a point where, like, we know what's happening. We don't need you to over and over and over and over and over and over say it. But the thing is that it really didn't help the film at all, because you're going through these sequences and you'll be doing this for like 20 minutes and then you'll get to that action scene and it's the best action scene ever, so you're all invested and you're like, okay. So it almost makes up for it, having these really long scenes of dialogue with these little breaks of action. But I really felt that it could have been better spaced out throughout the entire movie, because those first two halves are pretty damn slow. It's very much a slow burn, and I think depending on the person, it could make or break the movie for you, because I had a lot of people with me, and one of them did say, yeah, I was bored throughout the entire thing, besides those action sequences, and I think if they could have just kind of edited a little bit better, and maybe trimmed off a bit, maybe like 20 minutes sort of thing, I think this movie could have been way better and just, well, better paced in general. But honestly, that's my only complaint about this movie. I really thought this movie was a lot of freaking fun. I'm actually pretty sad that it's not really getting promoted as much as I thought it would, which is crazy to me. But this is a really good and fun action movie. If you know what the Mission Impossible movies are and you know what you're expecting, it's great in every aspect in that way. I'm not going to reiterate it because you already know. but I'm gonna give this movie an 8 out of 10. It's really freaking good. It's very entertaining, very well made. The stunts are incredible and the action scenes are amazing, but it could have been better trimmed down and just better paced in general to make a complete and compelling experience that doesn't feel boring in any way. But anyways, that's where I'm gonna end this review off. If you like what you saw here and you want to see more, please like and subscribe down below for more content on the channel coming pretty damn soon, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next one. See ya.